So this is kind of the breakdown of the marks. This is where you're going to pick up marks, and this is why I want to go through it so that I'm not saying to you afterwards, this is where you pick up marks. You know beforehand, you know before you write it up, where you're going to pick up marks and how to pick up the marks. Okay? So, so there basically is the breakdown of the marks. Your 30 marks worth. 6 of your 30 marks are your GMTs. Alright? And that's why we kind of limit ourselves to 2 GMTs. You're only getting 6 marks worth. So we don't want to actually waste any time in our assignment. You don't want to waste any time in your assignment writing extra GMTs if you don't have to. So we want to make sure that, and for National 5, see, your research methods are worth 6 as well. Alright? The process information for hire, if you make reference to your processed information, you pick up 4 marks. So that's basically just taking information from your graphs and writing it in your assignment. For National 5, yeah, you make reference to your processed information, you get up to 3 describe marks for that at National 5. This will be online, channel. You don't need to follow it. It's on the SharePoint where all of the sort of lessons are. 6 marks for knowledge and understanding at higher. This is the bit that I briefly ran through just before we done the fieldwork. You know, your river processes where it talks about erosion, transportation. If you pick, depending on your question, if you pick the Bradshaw model, you want to maybe explain what the Bradshaw model is in your background information. All right, and that's the bit that we're going to focus on next lesson, is this background information. But I will run through another quick PowerPoint on that as well. Analysis of results. This is the hardest section to pick up marks in. And this is where you start talking about trends and noticing data and sort of linking things that you know as background knowledge to what actually you've seen at the river. All right, and that's going to be our most difficult part. All right, it's also worth the most marks, as you can see. You get 2 marks for a conclusion. You just link that back to your initial question. Does the river match the long profile that you thought it would in your null hypothesis? And then 4 marks. Right, now this is an easy 4 marks. The SQA actually mark your assignment by giving you these 4 marks straight away before they read it. You have to then basically prove to them that you don't deserve the 4 marks. And that's something you, so as long as you structure it, right, in a certain way, so you've got a beginning, a middle, and end, your GMTs, your process data, your conclusion, you get the structure mark. Use of terminology. Do you use geographical terms? Yeah. Can you mention the processes and name the processes? You get 1 mark. And coherence. See, when I read it, can I follow it and does it make sense? So you're basically given 4 marks out of your 30 already. Alright, so that's a really easy 4 marks to get. You have to do something really quite extraordinary to get 0 in that section, or get any less than 3. Alright. Right, write up GMT. This is what we should now just be finishing. 3 I want you to focus on, river channel characteristics. This then kind of gets linked in together as 1 GMT, so it's fairly easy when talking about particularly width and depth to get 3 marks for that, because we actually done quite a lot. Channel velocity, how did we find out that one? Yeah, talking about the distance measured, the speed, talk about the calculation that you have to do, speed, distance, time to find out the velocity. And then pebble analysis, again, what did we do, why did we do it, and were there any issues with it? So this table is really helpful for you kind of writing this out. Right, we need to kind of be finished that now and starting our background information kind of this period and tomorrow, so that we're kind of hitting where I think we need to be with this assignment, so that we can get 1 full draft done potentially by the end of next week, so I can mark it and see what we need to work on. All right, an example of the GMTs written up, talking about channel width, depth, weight, primer, because they're very closely linked together. What you done, yeah, ranging poles, make sure you mention the equipment we used, all right, because that's important. You can't say, oh, we stuck a pole in, we then measured it with what? What did you do? Yeah, be specific, be detailed. Almost act like you are trying to teach this or try to describe this to somebody who's never ever done geography before. Aye, like a first year maybe, or less. So, background information. This is stuff that you'll kind of be able to find out very easily and hopefully we'll have some semi-knowledge on. So, you want to describe the location, source and size of the River Devon and its catchment area. Now, Mr. Small put up, I think it was a Word document on Yammer, talks about background information and the geology of Clackmannanshire. You can include that in your background information as well. So basically, if you get a chance, read that, whether it's this period or in your own time. So that links in the second bullet point of describing the geology. So you want to talk about, are the rocks soft or hard? How do you know? What's the name of the rocks? And how is that going to be influenced by the river in terms of erosion, that kind of thing. And then for here, you might want to explain what the Bradshaw model is, if that's the question you've chosen. If it's not, if it's the long profile question, you want to explain what the long profile of a river is and why it is that way. Or if it's the Shum model, you want to explain what the Shum model is, right? And that's where we now need to think about what question am I going to narrow down my focus to. All right, probably either today or tomorrow we need to start talking about that. Processing information, we should finish on Thursday, all right? Bar graphs, line graphs, calculating averages. When talking about a discharge, right, there is that picture I took on Yammer with the questions. At the bottom half of that is the calculations you need for velocity and for calculating the discharge, all right? Discharge is the amount of water in the river at any one time. Remember, we've done that full lesson on what influences the amount of discharge in a river? And they all nodded in agreement, because I'm the best teacher in the world. Or they all just stared at me blankly. Remember we talked about the flood hydrographs, rising limb, falling limb, yeah, lag time. And we says a short lag time is for this, and we looked at the textbook and we said, you know, if it's steep land, it's going to be faster, yeah? Right, good. That's what affects discharge. So when you talk about discharge and you've seen the exemplars, that's the kind of thing you want to be talking about. Again, a good example when you talk about process information is you don't just lift the numbers straight off your graphs, right? There is no skill involved in that, or the SQA deem that there's no skill. You're just lifting it. If they wanted that, they would just look at the graphs themselves. They're all professionals, they're all geographers. So what you need to do is add value to it, right? So location 1, the discharge of the river was 1.65 cubics. This is significantly less. That's where you're adding the value by saying it's less, yeah, than the peak discharge. So you're adding value again here by saying the peak discharge is 3.3 and at 1.65 is less than that. Now that seems pretty obvious and pretty straightforward, and you should, you know, you're thinking a person marking this should be able to see that 1.65 is less than 3.3. But the SQ are expecting you to explicitly tell them that when you write it, all right? And that's one of the key things we need to remember. Again, treat it like you're writing it to somebody who's not got a clue about geography or numeracy or numbers, yeah? So overall, the trend was for discharge to increase at each location as I moved downstream. So that's what you were expecting to see. The evidence to back that up, aye, is here. So location 1, aye, and then at location 4. So you see how they're explicitly stating, here's what happened, this is what I expected to see from the Bradshaw model, the Shum model, the long profile model, whatever model you chose. And then you see how the bottom one is pretty terrible, actually. They're just lifting straight off the graph. Location 1, the discharge was 1.65. At location 2, it was 1.76, 2.9, and 3.3. Right? They can see that from your graph. Right? And that's where you need to significantly add the value less than, more than. Yeah? If you want, do a bit of subtraction and put how much more it is in that section as well. And then the most different section I was talking about, the one that's worth 8 marks, is the analysing of your information. So you kind of have to look at your process information and say, why have you got the information you've got? What has happened or what's happening in the river? What processes are taking place to say that you have went from this to this? And then that why is you're analysing information, and how does that link to the rest of the river? All right. So you want to back that up with knowledge and understanding. So if you want to talk about pebble analysis, and in location 1, you say that actually, you know, I'm aware freeze fall happens here because it's up in the Oakville Hills. Aye, Jamie, you watching or are you texting? Watching, that's good. Thought you were texting now with your phone in your hand. So what you want to say is freeze fall happens because it's up in the Oakville Hills. From freeze fall, you know, you get sharp, jagged, angular pieces of rock. This can be seen from graph 1 that shows me that 90% of the pebbles found were very angular, right? Whereas at location 2, through the process of erosion, you then go on to explain the process of erosion, we found that 95% of the pebbles were rounded, right? You see how you can link in what's happening here? Your background information, link it to it, and that covers your analysing information. Anybody got any questions about that? Do you want me to turn this off and then ask if you get any questions? I feel like Jeremy Kyle into the audience, creeping about. You got an opinion on this? Amy, didn't look at me like that. Alright. So, everybody quite happy so far?